Our next question is from Birdie. Who is Birdie? There is Birdie. Hello, Birdie. What have you got for us?
What is a bonus hole and why do I keep seeing it everywhere? Alright everyone, I wanted to talk about this ridiculous new phrase that's going around called the bonus hole.
Now, a charity has been slammed as being misogynist for suggesting doctors could say bonus hole instead of vagina. Now, the glossary for medical professionals from Joe's Cervical Cancer Trust say it's an alternative word for vagina that transgender or non-binary patients may prefer. But women's rights groups have called it loathsome and utterly dehumanising. The charity says the guide was developed with the LGBT community and doesn't suggest all women will want to use it. Now, I just need to say that it's not all women's rights charities that have kicked off about this. It's a very particular type of women's rights charity, which are, you know, trans-exclusionary, feminists, people who are gender critical, who've lashed out at this.
Can you hear the ridiculous way she's talking about this bonus hole? She's talking about it as if it's like freaky and weird, that people would be upset by this, and that the only women and the only women's groups who are not flattered by calling female genitalia the bonus hole are the weirdos and the freaks who just hate trans people. You know, it's just such a weird way of framing it. It's so strange and it's so up our own fucking arse. Bonus hole. It is a term that comes from pornography. It's treating that as the second option, like the second best. Do you know what I mean? Like as if when people have the sexy time, that's not the first place they go. So when I first heard the phrase bonus hole, I actually thought it was going to be something freaky like the ear hole or the nose or something. Didn't expect it to just be the bit weird, innit? And then she makes a joke about the bonus hole, like, oh look, hey, we're going to talk to our resident bonus hole.
But I'm going to defer before I give my opinion to our resident bonus hole, Kevin.
Hey, one for the lads. Get in, get your tits out, love. Do you know what? You don't have to play it up that much.
Using that joke for a long, long time. I am not a bonus hole.
You're a vagina.
Are you interested in the story, Kevin?
I just think, I think it's sexist. I think it's insulting to women. It's such a nasty little, hideously ugly term. They give you an alternative as well. If you don't fancy bonus hole, you can use the even more lovely front hole. I mean, who's coming up with these terms?
Okay.
3-year-olds?
I don't want to call it a front hole. I want to call it what it is. It's a vagina. There's nothing wrong with the word vagina. We're not calling men's penises a bonus stick, are we? You seem more offended by the bonus hole comment than she does. She's more than happy to refer to herself as having a bonus hole, this pornographic, sexualized version of the female anatomy, which is completely unnecessary, let's be honest.
That's exactly what I wanted you to say, because here's my defence of it. So Joe's cervical
I thought
cancer...
this is your trap, have I?
Yes, you brought me into my trap, into my bonus hole.
Hey, one for the lads.
Joe's Cervical Cancer Trust are absolutely incredible. It was set up after the death of a woman who was 40 years old who sadly passed away from cervical cancer. And they have issues with trans men or non-binary people coming forward to get cervical smears sometimes, because that can sometimes be a barrier. So a trans man being somebody who was assigned female at birth, so born with a vagina, but lives as a man.
Look, people born female are women.
Okay.
So to all intents and purposes is male or appears male, but has a cervix.
These are women that claim to be men. They're not men, okay? They can dress how they want. They can say they're whatever they want. I don't have to go along with it. You don't have to go along with it. Doctors certainly don't have to go along with it, because that can be deadly. And that's what this is about, really, because these women, they don't want to be women. So now we've got to pretend that they're men. Instead of having a vagina, we've all got a bonus hole, just because these very few women don't want to be women anymore. I don't understand it. I think it is not fair to make this concession in the English language and make us use pornographic words for our own body part. Why should we have to change the way we talk about ourselves for them? It makes no sense to me. I think it's disgusting that these charities, these cancer charities, are going to use pornographic language to refer to female anatomy at a time when it's more important than ever to be precise in your language so that people understand what the medical care that they need is. This is serious shit. You can't fuck about with cancer.
And so they're trying to reach out to people and say, look, this cervix service isn't just for people who look and identify as women, but we want you to. Anybody who has a cervix to come in. And if you would rather we call it a front hole or a bonus hole than a vagina, then so be it.
The reason these trans men have a cervix is because they're women. There's no other reason.
Can't they think of something nicer than front hole?
I think it's quite cheeky.
It's horrible.
But come on, it is
disgusting.
It would be misogynistic if you said it to me.
She seems to be really thrilled about this. It's so weird. How is it misogynistic, though? Because if this woman wants her vagina to be called a bonus hole, how comes he's not allowed to call it a bonus hole? So does he have to call it a vagina, but she gets to call it a bonus hole? She's not making any sense here.
But if you were saying it about your own
these
hole.
nuances.
but it denigrates women. It's dehumanising for women. I mean, it's...
But it's women who've, as you put it, it's people who are born female who've requested it.
Yeah, but what about the rest of the women community?
Then they...
Are you looking for some truly awful, bigoted, hateful propaganda? Do you want to buy some stickers that trans activists can never peel off? Do you like disgusting quotes and opinions? What about artists who appropriate queer culture? If this sounds like something you're into, visit my website. My art allegedly causes real-world harm. TheFamousArtistBirdieRose.com. TheFamousArtistBirdieRose.com.
Woman, add a human female. All of this stuff is a nonsense, and it's a constant process of going in this direction that I think women feel is wrong.
Well,
quite
two women in
rightly.
the room here who don't feel as strongly as you do about it, but often this is a manufactured outrage and it's turned into a far bigger deal
I tell you,
than it
it's not
actually
manufactured.
is.
I'm talking to groups up and down the country.
Well, you're
and-
talking to a woman right now.
Yeah, well, I'm talking to women all up and down the country
talking
who
to a
feel
woman right
who
now.
feel deeply offended,
Yeah,
who feel denigrated, and who feel that all their
But
rights.
has it affected
all
them
their
directly,
rights-
or is it something they've read about in
I tell you what, it's really
newspaper?
affecting.
This does affect people directly, right? And I hate it when people say, it doesn't affect you, it doesn't affect you. But you know what? Me not going along with it doesn't affect you. So why are you trying to force me, and why are you so bothered about me not going along with it? So it does affect me. It affects me. It affects everybody, because we're being told we have to comply with this shit, and I ain't gonna do it. I'm not going along with that. I think it's disrespectful to ask me to go along with somebody else's bullshit, somebody else's fantasy. Get a life.
It's affecting their children at schools. All of this gender questioning, it's all part of the same topic. It's utterly outrageous, and I think it's going to stop.
Yeah, I mean, I do think there are certain things, like when they talk about chest feeding, and you think, you know, because you know,
then
men
what's the
still
difference?
have. Yeah, no, but I'm just all I was going to say is why call it chest feeding when men have breasts and women have breasts, so call it breastfeeding. Don't bother with the. That's what I'm saying.
And it's
She knows, right? Why call it chest feeding when we know it's breastfeeding? And men can't even feed a baby anyway. Any man that tries to feed a baby and calls himself a woman, calls himself a mother, is doing it because he's a weirdo. And we know what those men are like. They've got nipple fetishes and baby fetishes. It's weird.
only as
I mean, there are
tiny.
certain things where you go, that is actually pointless,
Yes.
and other things where you think, well, it's just
Okay,
It
what
is,
you
but
might
it's all
hear.
relative, and when you
Yeah.
consider the tiny percentage of trans people that we have in this country, and the even tinier percentage of trans people who have children, it's so small.
But with the thing about the vagina
hole.
being called a bonus hole, whether you are now identifying as a man or not, that is still a vagina that you have. That doesn't change.
Yeah, he's right. It is still a vagina. It don't matter whether you call yourself a man or not. Your vagina doesn't change into anything else.
But
Yes, but
It might change because you might have had
associate
surgery
with
to turn it into a penis.
Well, then your cervix is still in there.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, so it's the cervix is still there, but not a
And do you have
vagina.
to? Do you have to call the cervix something else now? or
Yeah,
the cervix
well,
can stay the
let's
cervix?
think of something now.
Yeah, look, you can get this dodgy experimental surgery where you have all of the skin removed from your arm and a fake penis made from it, and then that gets stitched onto your body. But it's not a functioning organ, and it's certainly not a penis, so it's ridiculous to suggest that anyone could just change their vagina into a penis. That's not what's happening.
Challenge AJ on this one. If you'd gone through something that was deeply, deeply personal to you, that you'd struggled with psychologically for your entire life, and you'd felt like you'd been ostracised from society.
A majority of people have been through some shit, and you don't see a majority of people marching around screaming about how everybody has to bend their worldview for them, and everybody has to go out of their way and change the way they speak and change the way they think and abide by some arbitrary, made-up ideological rules. And I hate it when these emotionally manipulative arguments are made that, you know, oh, you've got to think about the person who's had a really hard life. No thanks. Off.
I hear what you're saying.
You've got a right to say, do you
Don't
know
ask
what?
the rest of us to change
They're not,
our language.
But they're not
They're
asking
not.
anyone. They're not
The
asking anyone to
NHS,
change
they
language.
are. This is the issue. It's
This is
going
just
down
a
a
war-
very slippery path. It's the thin end of the wedge, and it's got to
not.
stop.
It's not. They're not asking anyone to change their language. They're just
absolutely
saying
are.
this.
They are asking people to change their language. Come on, what's all this about? Why is it that I get called transphobic? Why do people get cancelled? Why do their lives get ruined? Why do people's lives get turned upside down? Why do I get threatened? Why do I get threatened by random weirdos who tell me to unalive myself? Why do I get threatened by random weirdos who tell me they're going to unalive me? Why are people bothered? If nobody is forcing us to go along with it and nobody is forcing us to change our language, why are these people so bothered?
The NHS is asking men if you're pregnant, for heaven's sake.
No,
It's
What's
absurd.
bonus hole? It's
Yes, they are. They're asking men if they're pregnant, and it's embarrassing. How embarrassing and humiliating is it to go to school, go to college, go to university, study and work hard for years and years and years, work on the job, train up, be an apprentice, work in doctors' offices, work in hospitals, work in emergency. How embarrassing is it after years and years and years of working like 14-hour shifts and studying hard to know your shit? And then you've got to ask a man if he might be pregnant. It's the ultimate humiliation to put a working professional through that shit.
it's a different
It's
language.
a glossary.
It's a different name.
So the charity
that
have
is
said
a change
that,
of language.
No,
this
it
is
isn't
what
a
individuals
It is.
might
It's saying
use
what
when
they
they walk
might
into the room.
use.
It is.
Not the other way around.
We've got to get it's the
not
madness
doctors,
of it all.
Kevin, it's not doctors
it's
using
mad.
it.
It's insane.
It is
it's
patients
insane.
using it.
Everybody over the
Kevin,
age
do
of
you
30.
actually listen to
everybody,
words that aren't
Listen to
yours?
anything anyone
everybody
says.
over the age
I think the
of 30.
misogynists in the room are the men who are speaking over the
age
women.
of 13 who
personally.
goes,
Okay, so she's now calling the men misogynists because they don't agree with her. And listen, lady, that's not what misogyny is. That's really not what it is. Don't ruin it for the rest of us by just throwing that word out at any man who dares to disagree with you. Right? And she has this attitude of, I'm a woman, you're a man, so you're not entitled to an opinion. Yet she thinks women who say they're men are actually men. So if those women, those trans men, are actually men, why the hell are they allowed an opinion on this? Why do these so-called men get to change the entire English language around female anatomy? That is not fair. Why are these men special? But those other men sitting next to her, they're not allowed an opinion on it, right? Because if they have an opinion, they're misogynistic.
the NHS for an X-ray has to say whether or not they're pregnant, even if they're blokes, big fat guys.
I have to
with
say whether
beard
or not I'm
guts.
pregnant, even though I've never been
Yes,
pregnant
but
in my
you're
life.
a woman.
I've never been pregnant either, and I'm still a woman. You're not a man until you become pregnant, then you're suddenly a woman. That's not how it works, you div.
I
it's
can't get pregnant. If
I
somebody
might not
asks
be able
me,
to get
are you
pregnant."
pregnant? I'm going to say, take a wild guess.
Well, I think your blood pressure might be getting a little bit high.
Yeah. Can we talk about a different... Should we move on to a different gender
No, I
story
want to talk about this.
No, let's talk about bonus holes all
No,
night.
Kevin.
Yeah, let's go back to the bonus hole jokes, yeah? Let's just lighten up the mood. It's getting a little bit tense. Get your bonus hole up for the lad. These people are absolute wet wipes. I've had enough. See you later.
Early in the morning, as the sun comes up, I just wanna have a cup. There's one drink, that's the one for me. Won't you please make me a cup of